Namaste and a very warm welcome. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about first house and planets in it. I'm going to take planets in the first house part by part, so please stay tuned. So first of all, as this is my first video, and in any kind of start, we always pray to Shri Ganesh, as he is the deity who is protecting all of us always, and he is the giver of all kind of knowledges and giver of the bhakti of Saraswati Mata as well. So with this, I'm going to say Shri Ganeshaya Namaha and start my video. So basically, the first house is considered very, very important in perspectives of Vedic astrology because it holds the base. Actually, there are like so many parts and so many things associated with all the 12 houses. But what happens if there is no body? What happens if there is no base? Nothing works, right? So the first house actually shows the base, the person himself or herself, and it is directly associated with many qualities and what the life path is all about. My basic interpretation regarding the first house always starts by looking at the Rashi that is placed in the first house, also known as the zodiac sign, which is there in the first house. And followed by that, I usually see where the first house lord has gone, because both of these things usually tell the nature of the person. And not only that, it also shows that how strengthened or weakened the chart is. Alongside with that, with the placement of the first house lord, it shows the direction or the path of life of that particular person. So starting with few things that I have noted in Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, a very important book for all the astrologers, especially the Vedic astrology followers. And Parashar Rishi has always mentioned things in regards that he has always considered all the planets in very much near or exactly equal to God, but having different nature and different characteristics based on the deposition of all the three tattvas in them, that is the Sattva Gun, Rajgun and Tamogun. So based on that, this is basic shlok that is given by Rishi Parashar. He has said that the Lord is in all the beings and the entire universe is in him. All beings contain both Jivatma and Paramatma. So some have got predominance of former while others have latter in predominance. Paramatma Ansh, that's what it is, that is what is written. It is Paramatma Ansh, is predominant in the grahas. So as you can see, Rishi Parashar is actually pointing out that all the grahas, that is all the planets, are nothing but small energy packets of Paramatma himself. That is the all-pervading energy which is actually present in this universe, is actually concentrated in the forms of these celestial bodies, in turn into the planets. So their powers consorts to have predominance of either Paramatmansh and others with having Jivatmansh. Here, one thing I've also noted which is very peculiar. So usually any astrologer who usually starts studying Vedic astrology are very well known with two Kundalis, two basic charts of Shri Krishna and Shri Ram. So usually people go for reading the chart of Shri Ram because his life patterns and everything resembles the humans very much, because Valmiki Ramayana and the Ramcharitmanas, there is no description of Shri Ram saying that he himself is the god. Like, he does not say anything like that ever in the whole Ramayana. Whereas in the case of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, he himself has told many a times that he is himself the Paramatma. He is himself the god of all. So the charts differ very much. That's why people prefer to study the chart of Shri Ram first and make predictions out of it and to learn how to predict things. But here I have noted that Parashar Rishi has clearly told Maitreya, which was one of his students, that, O Brahmin, the four incarnations, that is Ram, Krishna, Narsi and Vara, are wholly Paramatma Ansh, and there is no Jivatma Ansh present in them, while the other incarnations have Jivatma Ansh too. So this is very clear that these four incarnations out of 10 of Shri Narayan are clearly only and only Paramatma Ansh. So there is naturally some bias that is created while studying their chart, though I am not stating this very clearly. I am considering this as ipse dixit, and I do not have any kind of reference elsewhere or anyone else telling this, but I have just came to the conclusion that applying all the rules and things that we learned in Vedic astrology directly into the charts of Sri Ram and Sri Krishna won't work directly, because as Rishi Parashar himself considered them to be excluded of very normal soul's journey, because they were extraordinary. They were Paramatma themselves. So yeah, this was very peculiar for me. Now, coming on to the first house, starting from here. So what does it represent? So simply, it represents your physical entity and starts with the physical birth, because there are multiple types of birth that one can have. Like there could be sometimes transformational birth, or there could be mental, or any, or basically there are like various types of birth that have been described. But the first house simply shows that your physical birth or your existence patterns that are being laid down by the universe for you. Other thing that it shows is head region, the general appearance of the person, vitality, the temperament, maternal grandfather and paternal grandmother. These are two very important things to note down, that it shows how in general the life path of the maternal grandfather and the paternal grandmother goes on, because it naturally becomes 10th from the 4th house, whereas it becomes 4th from the 10th house itself. So it becomes father's mother and mother's father. That's how it goes along. Plus it shows the home environment of father, because again it is 4th from the 10th house. So many scriptures say that usually father is seen from 9th house and 10th house. So in usually the southern part of India, 9th house is considered the preliminary house for father, whereas in the case of North India and other Western astrologers, I believe that 10th house is considered as the authority house or house of authority, and that's where father is seen. It also shows that the workplace environment, how the workplace environment will be. I think this is not correct. Yeah, but in general, it shows the workplace environment, not of mother, but workplace environment of the person itself. But it does not behold the capacity to tell you completely about your career itself, but it definitely shows the workplace environment. For suppose there is Venus or Jupiter or any other Sattvic or Rajasic planet posited over here in the 10th house, it shows that there will be very calming and cool environment in your office or wherever you are working in that place. But if there are planets like Mars, Sun, then there will be cases that you have to constantly rush over things, or you have to constantly work laboriously in your field or at your workplace to stand or stay wherever you are. So these are like basic predictions. Definitely there are multiple layers to it, but these are just the basic predictions that can be seen. Now there is very unique difference between the first house itself and the first house lord, because the first house shows so many things. These are just part of it. There are many more things that can be seen from first house, but first house lord majorly shows these three things, as we can see over here. Number one is the self, number second is the health of the person, and number third is the life direction. These are the three major things that can be seen. Now number one is the self. So the first house lord shows physical body. Again, here we can note the difference that the first house was showing physical birth, that how the physical birth takes place, what will be the environment when the person's birth happens. And whereas first house lord shows physical body, how the physical body will be, right? If the first house lord is very well placed and it is having strength, the person's physical body, the appearance of the person is naturally strengthened up, no matter if it is seen by malefics or any other kind of malefic association. But if it is innately strong, then it naturally shows that the physical body of the person is attractive, strong, and it does have all the qualities to live a long life. It ensures basically that the person will live a long and probably healthy life if the dashas go right. Dashas are basically the time sequences that follow right from the birth. We'll come on to that later words in some other video. So yeah, and again, as the Kundali is considered a part of, I would say, a time frame in the universe. It's simply a snapshot of your birth. So it is definitely affected by three major things. Those are called as the Desh, Kal and Paristhiti. Translated to geography, the era or time period of the birth, and the environment or niche where the person has taken birth. So these three things very importantly affects the person. So if two people have same yogas and same Kundali, it doesn't ensure that both will have same life pattern and everything will be same, because these three things will definitely affect them a lot. If someone's born to a very rich person, family and having the same yogas as to other person, as compared to other person who is born into a very nominal or very low socioeconomic status family, then both the persons will have different life path overall because of these affecting factors. Now, coming on to the planets. So I'm just going to take 3 planets in this videos because I don't want to make this video too long. So this first planet that we're going to take into account is Surya Narayana Bhagwan, that is our sun. And there are various descriptions that have been given in multiple scriptures and Vedic texts on Kundali. But the first one that everyone will tell you is, I think, this one, that the appearance wise, the person is either British in color or having a bright complexion. This is very common. This is what it is given in the Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra as well. And nature wise, the person is very authoritative. This sometimes creates ego issues that has been given in multiple scripts, that sun in the first house is bound to give some ego issues into the person. The person will feel authoritative in most of the situation. This can hamper the domestic life of the person, because even at home the person feels like that he or she is some kind of boss and literally like gives orders and feels like everyone is my servants. Like that could be the case, but that needs a severe amount of affliction as well. The letter sentence that I told, that thing requires serious amount of affliction to sun. Otherwise it generally shows bossism. That's it. Now, one more thing that happens over here is that the person is very ambitious, have strong willpower, have good amount of pride about himself or herself. One more thing that is very important, that is given in multiple scriptures, that Karako Bhava Nashaya. This is a concept that is given in basically in one script of Sarvarth Chintamani as well, and few other scripts as well. It says that Sarveshu Bhavasthaneshu tat bhavadikarakaha vidyate tasya bhavasya phalam swam alpa mudiritaya. Swam alpa means it decreases its fruits or sometimes destroys it as well. So simply it means that the natural significator of that particular house, when it sits in that same house, it either decreases the results of that house significantly, or it even damages or destroys those results. Same thing happens for sun over here. Sun, being the natural significator of the first house, destroys some qualities of the first house. The decision power or the decisiveness of a person comes from the first house. So definitely there are influences of other houses as well, but predominantly it comes from the first house because it shows the head region. So that's where the brain is. So it simply shows that how the person manages and takes the decisions for his life and how he or she portrays them into the world after taking those decisions. So when sun is in the first house, the person lacks the decisiveness. This happens even if there is no malefic association or very serious amount of damage to the sun, but this is a general feature that can be seen. So a person, though being authoritative, sometimes lacks confidence, or if they have confidence, there will be overconfidence of that thing. And definitely I've again told you that there are ego issues with the person. Other striking feature of sun in the first house is there are always some kind of hair issues with the person, because then actually the sun is shown as having baldness or sparse hair on their head. So this characteristic is directly given to the person by Surya Narayana Bhagwan being in the first house. So this is clearly shown over here that there is hair loss issues and early whitening, or basically early agedness can be seen especially on the hair part. The integuments part can show that the person has become older, although the person isn't chronologically, but still, yeah. So these are very basic description and features regarding sun in the first house, the nature wise and appearance wise. One more thing is also seen from the sun in the first house. What I have seen is basically whenever sun is in the first house, the person can have a bulky body or having broad shoulders. So they will be either sturdy or having a broad body, like good shoulder. If it's a male chart, if it's female chart, the person could be heavy, or if they are not heavy, they'll have a kind of bulk in their upper body region, and their head could be bigger than normal or relatively to other people in the community or society. basically because genetics matters a lot in this matters. So relatively their head size will be bigger. Yeah, coming on to the second part, that is the moon. So coming on to the second planet, that is the moon in the first house. This is a very nice placement to have, because now the Chandra Kundli, that is the chart in which the moon is placed in the first house and then the Kundli is seen, is actually coherent with the D1 chart, that is the Lagna chart, or what we are talking about right now is the first house, right? So simply the moon chart now here is simply equal to Lagna chart. That simply shows that whatever we see over here in the person is directly the same thing that the person is, because there isn't like any difference between what he or she is showing and what he or she is in reality. This is a very peculiar thing to have, and our beloved gods, Shri Ram Bhagwan and Shri Krishna Bhagwan, both have got moons in their first house. So I've already told in starting that they're Paramatmansh, so we usually should not be completely relying on their readings, but we can still infer that God even loves this placement. This is very nice placement. So it number one thing that it gives is a white complexion, and sometimes it gives a light undertone. Again, this is relative in their community, because again the genes are very much important and the niche and the environment also affects a lot. So they're relatively white in complexion and relatively having light undertone overall. This is very important. The person is always having a round and attractive face. Something is very attractive about the person's face. Sometimes it could be in the form of mole as well, or any other thing which is very peculiar. A mole could be there, a very nice nose, eyebrow, or eyes. Eyes are very nice. The eyes can be are always speaking kind of eyes. They are like talking to you, talking to the other person always. The person is naturally having sweet voice and they are soft spoken. The moon is called as the master of kalas or is being referred to as master of kalas. That means master of many skills in the Vedic astrology. So here the person becomes artistic and creative by nature. Plus the soft spoken or sweet voice sometimes can give good singers, and they can have interest or hobby in singing or playing some kind of music as well. Other thing that we can see over here is the person is quite whimsical in nature, because the moon represents the tides of the seas naturally. So the mood either goes very up, sometimes it drops down to like below baseline, and sometimes they want to stay in the middle ground, and it changes a lot. So that's what it can be seen. Other thing that we see is this again depends on the influence of other planets on moon, but generally it can show lustfulness in general, and it can increase with age. Moon has been associated with cheating as well. So there are instances that there are like stories and the Vedic scripts that have told us that moon was having affair with Tara Devi, who happens to be wife of Jupiter, that is Dev Guru Brihaspati, the guru of all the devas, that is all the gods. So his wife was in intimate relationship with moon for one time, and they had their son as Mercury. So Mercury is basically illegitimate child out of marriage. So that's why moon here shows that this kind of tendency can happen, but again it should have influences, otherwise this won't work. Kundli always works when the predictions and the planets always work in combinations. In yoga simply means a combination. So any yoga to happen, there needs to be combinations for that, otherwise it won't take place, or it won't realize it. It will happen only at a mental plane sometimes, but to happen really in physical form, it takes many planets, many yogas to be there and sustain that yoga energy. Yeah. One more upside is they are very caring. They are always there to provide the motherly love to everyone, and they are very compassionate as well. And that's why sometimes it becomes problem, like infidelity, as I already told you. So it can happen when moon is in the first house, because they're like compassionate to everyone. They don't actually draw a line between where to stop. Sometimes that happens, not always. Definitely what I've told stays true. The yogas need to confirm that. Yeah, these are the very basic characteristics that have been provided in Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra, Sarvarth Chintamani, and some things from Lal Kitab as well. Today's last planet is Mars. this is also a very nice placement, because in naturally the Kala Purusha Kundli, that is the Kundli which basically starts from the Aries, because naturally it is considered that Aries represents the east direction. So the Kala Purush Kundli starts from number 1 and it goes along like that. So if you see over here, naturally the Mars is in its own house if it's in the first house. So because it's in the Aries field or field of Aries. Okay, so here the person will have reddish complexion again. The geography, the environment and niche effects can make differences, but relatively it is reddish complexion. Simply it means that the person's hemoglobin or red blood cell count is really nice all over his life or his or her life, and if it is afflicted, only then it can exactly give opposite results. That is there is always some kind of hematological disorder that is associated with this person, and they're either going for routine checkups and still they are not finding anything at serious, like there is no iron deficiency or anything else, but just it's always showing that there is either decrease in red blood cell count or hemoglobin, only and only if the Mars is afflicted. Now, the person's temperament could be quite fiery. The person can have lack of patience. The person can also become very much angry without even any cemented cause. About his appearance, adding to the red complexion, the person is quite lean and athletic. Also, one thing is seen that the person is shorter in stature as compared to other individuals in his community, in his or her community, or basically in their family. They are quite short. Again, broad shoulders are seen both in the case of Sun and Mars. It also shows that there is high vitality in this person. The person is most of the times stubborn, because Mars is represented as the army chief in the planet. Now, if the army chief isn't that stubborn that we want to win this place, we want to win over this region, and we need to conquer this land, then any king would be skeptical on them being the army chief. So Mars naturally represents stubbornness in the first house, and the person is quite stubborn. Once they have like made a decision, they will go haywire to complete that. They just want to achieve that thing. Now, one more thing that I have actually seen is that whenever there is Mars's influence on first house, whether by aspect or by conjunction in the first house, it shows hirsutism in females. That is the sparse hair or sometimes beard-like hair on their face, or small mustache hairs that can be seen in females. But it also shows increased flexibility and or increased strength as well in the person. So basically the female having this kind of placement or Mars's direct influence on the first house simply shows that she could be more manly than other females, and sometimes it can even create issues in marriage. Plus it can give problems related to pregnancies, but not in all cases, because again there should be yogas as already told. So it differs a lot, but these are like general predictions that can be seen over here. The Rashi placement, the overall aspects and everything matters a lot. So this was the first video that I have made. Please follow my channel, and for more videos please give suggestions as well. If you want any particular video, I'm going to make a series of videos after this. First I'm going to complete all of these planets, and then I'm going to start from the basic planet placement and